Hey everybody, this is Jessica from ArtistryInCards, part of JessicaLynnOriginal.com. I am a huge Walt Disney World fan. I also love creating my own art, so I thought, you know what, let's draw something inspired by the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Now, the original concepts of art and design for the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland were actually created by a couple of different artists, such as Ken Anderson, Raleigh Crump, and Mark Davis. These talented individuals created and developed this attraction, and they each brought their own unique ideas and artistic styles to the project. Now, the Haunted Mansion itself in Disneyland, California, officially opened to the public on August 9th of 1969. It had been in development for several years before the grand opening, and they went through several design variations and changes throughout the construction and planning phases. Obviously, fast forward many years, the ride has become such a classic and iconic attraction at Disney parks. It's actually worldwide with variations, but it's always known for its mix of spooky and humorous elements. Now again, for me personally, I love the Ballerina. She is my favorite. Went and saw the movie this summer, and I was kind of bummed. I was hoping she was going to be in there, and I didn't really. There was one moment where you saw her, but not for very long. But this one is my favorite. On my list of Halloween costumes that I'd love to do. But what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and I went and drew this out in black line ink pen. And then what I do is I printed it out so I could have two of them to work on. Because I always like to work on at least one or two cards at a time. Especially for one, paper-wise. You know, I don't like to waste paper. Two, sometimes I do a better job of coloring one than I do the other. And then that's the one I end up using for the card that I'm making. So I decided I'm just going to color both right away, and it's actually pretty funny. With one, I actually made a card, which you'll see at the end of this video. The other ones I actually cut out and laminated, and they live on my desk. So they actually are staring at me right now while I'm recording this audio. I think they're fun. I think these could be used as really fun, like bookmarks. I think that would be fun. But again, I don't own this art. I drew it, but it was inspired by the work that I found. So I did draw this. And then what I'm going to do, once it's all colored in, and I use Copic markers to color it in, I'm going to use my Brother ScanNCut. I am a huge fan of that. What I like about it is that I don't have to have die cuts. So I can go in and just say, here, I drew this, let's cut it out, and keep moving. I do a lot of one-off work like that. So I think that's the reason that I enjoy the Brother ScanNCut so much, is that I'll draw, like these two, and I probably won't do any more, right? Because I'm not going to mass produce these. I don't know the images, although I did draw these. I'm just making these two Halloween cards. Well, one's a card, one's up on my wall. But for myself, right, for personal use. And the fun part is it will find the lines. I can tell it, well, I want you to cut out an extra, 1/16 of an inch, 1/12 of an inch, 1/4, half an inch, whatever you want. You tell it, it'll do it. And that's what I really like about it. It gives a nice clean edge. And it's a great little machine. So let's go ahead and get these all punched out, and then we'll go ahead and start creating the card. So I found this really fun watercolor paper. Kind of looks like a water background. So this is what we're going to use for the whole card. And so all I did really quick is I just put glue across the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. I really like kind of playing around the placement of it so that the water filled it quite well. And again, I always encourage you to sign the back of the card. It's your creation. It's a ton of fun too, because then if you give it to somebody, they'll be like, oh, you made that card for me. I do that a lot, so I think that's fun. So I'm going to go ahead and put the placement on here. And on the card, I think we might end up having to cut off her umbrella a little bit. I probably should have done a tall, skinny card rather than a traditional size card. Or I probably should have shrunk her down a little bit in size. Wasn't thinking when I printed it off. I just was really excited to get started with this card. So encouraging words from someone who wishes she would have shrunk it down. Measure twice cut once, right? You do that in sewing. So same kind of thing with card making. Measure it out. Make sure that you're making it the right size that you really want. And then what we're going to do is I put it on foam risers. Now you can see I just cut off that top just a little bit, not too bad. But I love the foam risers because it really brings depth. Now I am not going to put the alligator on foam risers because I want him to be kind of flush. Now I'm going to draw her little ballerina tightrope. And I'm just going to freehand this with a black ink pen. Again, I think one of the things about card making that is so fun is that it's freeing. It's art, right? And if you're too stressed out about it, you know, then are you really having fun? I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But let's go ahead and get that tightrope on there, and then we'll add the gator to the bottom. I thought it would be fun while I'm just finishing up this card to give you a couple of things to think about when you think about Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. The one in California is a bit different than the other ones. That one, actually, the exterior was inspired by a southern plantation style of architecture, just because it has kind of an eerie and spooky feel. And the original storyline attraction does not have a single or linear storyline. And I think that's what's kind of fun about the Haunted Mansion, right? Like, it has a collection of ghost characters and scenarios. And what I love about it is that it could be all different. So if you've seen, I've made another card where I actually had a ghost who was sort of Victorian with an umbrella as well. And I did her all in blue, like she was ghostly. And put her behind some stone brick, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite cards that I think I've ever made. And again, that's the thing I like about Disneyland's Haunted Mansion, is that there's so many different characters and scenarios that you can follow. Like we talked about before, she is one of the stretching room ghosts. So this is the one where the room appears to go upward, revealing their grim portraits. The room, okay, spoiler alert here, is actually an elevator, and the stretching effect is achieved through some clever design. So, super cool. Now, as I'm making this card, I realized I probably should add a sentiment to this. So I went and found this wonderful stamp set that I had in my collection, just filled with sentiments. And the one that I'm going to use, it actually says "From Across the Pond." So I just got to find that. Where did that go? Where is it? Maybe we'll put it together here. There it is. Okay. So that's the fun part about like clear stamps or photopolymer stamps. Again, if you've never used them before, they are clear, transparent, so you can actually see where you're building them. And that's the other thing that I'm doing right here that I love about these stamps, is that you can build up your own images and designs using the blocks. So in other words, I pick the sentiment, sort of interchange them, and maybe that wasn't the original sentiment, but by mixing and matching I was able to make the sentiment that I wanted. So while I'm putting that together, let's just get some ink on here. So it says, "Sending fond across the pond." So I thought that was kind of fun. So it's a fun card to make. I love making fun Halloween cards. Be sure to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do still have JessicaLynnOriginal.com, but that is being used now as a different version of my channel. It's all going to be about travel and adventures. This one is going to be specifically just for artistry and cards. So be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you again real soon. Take care, everybody.